I can't even see, or like it feels so much bigger than it looks from up here.
Yeah.
From up here, it actually looks like a lot smaller than it really is. Like, that thing takes forever to run around.
We're here at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, catching up with Jay Weinberg, about to go watch him sound check with Suicidal Tendencies, and then rip a gig opening for Metallica. Let's go. What did it, like your first show, I'm sure you get a sound check and you get to kind of walk the stage, but when you walked up there and there was a crowd here, what did that feel like the first time?
Pretty nuts. I mean, you know, there's so much to get used to in an environment like this that, you know, I was just kind of focused on like, all right, play well, don't try to let the surroundings affect me all too much, you know? Like, and that's always been like, every kind of new playing environment always kind of feels like that. It's always like, just get through it, do what I'm here to do, and the environment will like, it'll make its way into that experience, but it's not anything that I'm gonna try to consciously think about. I'm gonna try to consciously kind of keep it outside, you know? And I feel like that's like anything, like being, you know, being an athlete or something, you kind of ignore all the other factors that are outside the thing that you're doing. But then there are the ways that it comes in and affects you in the ways that it does. So you just let that happen organically. But a situation like this, like, yeah, getting up there for the first time and there's people right at my heels, there's people right in front of me, you know, it's totally different. Like playing in the round like this is a completely new experience. So as we've gone, now we've done like 5 or 6 of these shows, something like that. You just start to get used to it as like this environment that, you know, you become kind of familiar with in a way. I wouldn't say I ever get used to it, but I'd say I'm like more familiar with it now.
That's awesome. And this tour is different too, right? Because it's not every single night. You guys play a couple shows and then there's a lot of days off in between. How has that been getting used to, and what have you been doing in between to keep yourself busy? Because you're always involved in so much music and art and travel. What has your routine been like?
Yeah, I don't do so great with downtime, you know, just like I like to fill my schedule. So with that, you know, being said, like, yeah, we have a show with Metallica about like every 5 to 7 days or so. We've had a kind of a quick turnaround here where we played a show with them 3 days ago or something. That was like the quickest turnaround that we've had. But yeah, it's all about just finding ways to keep active and keep doing stuff, and like, rather than, you know, come in, play a show, go back home, do laundry, come back out, you know, rather than do that, I think it's been a great opportunity to fill in that schedule with other things that we've done together, sessions and stuff in an area where I can get some work done. So yeah, doing the Loyal to the Craft clinics has been, you know, such an incredible experience to go from this and break it down to its very basics and more in an educational kind of setting. That's been really exciting. And yeah, like this leg of the tour, we started in New York. So I did a recording session in Massachusetts right before this. We had a show in Virginia last night. We're in North Carolina today, but the night before the Virginia show, I did a little update for my Mixwave drum library. That's really exciting. Yeah, just because, you know, I'm in Maryland with a day off. I can go into the studio and record that and stuff. So looking at at the time in between shows as an opportunity to just like do independent things is, you know, that's a dream in and of itself, to have the flexibility in a schedule to do that. It's awesome, you know, and it allows you to keep, you know, a 2-month tour like this is, you know, it allows you to kind of keep it fresh, keep the excitement going in a way. Whereas, you know, obviously it's hard to not be excited in an environment like this all the time. Like, this is always exciting, and I get to watch one of my favorite bands ever like 20 something times this year. But yeah, it allows us to just kind of keep the inspiration rolling and plug into different things. I really like the energy of all that.
That's awesome. How was recording in Massachusetts? That was with Kurt Ballou, right?
It was awesome. Yeah, I can't speak too much about it, but really fun to finally have an opportunity to record with one of my favorite engineers, producers, you know, musicians, all of it. So working with Kurt Ballou was incredible, and there's more on that to come for sure.
These Loyal to the Craft experiences are brought to you by our incredible partner, DistroKid. If you don't know how to get your music out there, check out DistroKid now. They make it super easy and they support amazing stuff like this.
I remember being a young drummer just starting out when I was about 14 or so, and I had those guys that I looked up to who did the same thing. You can be just right there, sat next to your favorite drummer as he's shredding away, showing what he does. Having an organization like DistroKid involved in what we're doing is emblematic of like the DIY spirit. They're supportive of artists. They want artists to get their stuff out there and succeed. Start a band in high school, record some songs, and get them out into the world. Having them, pulling on the same rope here is a real honor.
So what's your message been? Like, you're playing these big shows and these kids on the internet, when they see you at shows and they get that opportunity, but specifically in the setting of a Loyal to the Craft event where the kids get your attention way more one-on-one, I'm sure there's a lot of the same question of like, how can I do what you're doing? We just talked about keeping yourself busy and staying inspired and keeping the creative juices flowing. What's your message to kids to, someday get to a place like this?
Yeah, well, I think, the overall message is that, like you just said, you put one foot in front of the other and you make reasonable goals that you can manage to hit by setting, the next incremental goal for yourself. That's what life is all about, And so I think when it comes to an event like this is a pretty insane environment and opportunity that, I'm incredibly grateful for, we're incredibly grateful for. And I think, it's just one of those things. It's like, for myself, meeting up with the guys in Suicidal Tendencies and having that friendship, having just, an existing relationship where then when, we start playing together, an opportunity like this comes along and stuff, and you just follow it, I think, I think there's a lot of right place at the right time that is a factor of that. But I think by putting yourself in places at different times is very important. It is very important to show up and be involved in music, be involved in a community, have friends, invest yourselves in these friendships, because you never know where they can lead, like myself with the Suicidal guys, we met over 10 years ago touring and stayed friendly and an opportunity like this comes along and it's like, absolutely, let's hit the road and play with Metallica for several months this year. That's an amazing thing to happen. I'm very fortunate that we're here. But bringing it back to the Loyal to the Craft events, it is a way to sort of simplify it in a way, because this whole environment can get very intimidating and hard to describe, what led us here, what got us here, what we're doing here. But it's much easier to describe all that stuff in the context of like playing at School of Rock, because it's right there. It's in our local community. It's not the big kind of gates that you might think surround an environment like this, which are all in our heads anyway, But I think distilling it to those very simple, basic building blocks of working hard, pursuing a craft, investing oneself in, your community. That's everything, that's what this is. That's what honestly the band Metallica has been so influential with, is like them taking real stock of their community, the community that they essentially started, to see how much it means to them still to this day. And the fact that like everybody here coming to this show, it really feels like there's some sort of kinship that even we share as one of the support bands with an environment like this is really, really cool, because it doesn't feel as enormous as it truly is. Like, it feels incredibly intimate and community-based, which is really nice. But yeah, I think having the ability to explain that and maybe connect those dots in a less intimidating setting, something that's a little more face-to-face, a little bit more intimate, where I am able to, take time after my performance and just like hang out, say what's up, take a photo and exchange, a friendly moment with people who want to come out and support what we're doing. that's what it's all about, you know? And I don't see too much of a difference between what we do there and what we do here. You know, it's all part of one bigger thing to me. And I think you resonate with that. I think a lot of the people who apply themselves to the ethos of loyal to the craft resonate with that. So it's a really great opportunity to do that, to bring what we learn here into like the classroom environment like that is an amazing opportunity.
Love it, man. Well said. Do you have any favorite moments from the couple gigs you did with the School of Rock kids? Anything stand out in particular?
Well, playing with like the local School of Rock bands is amazing. You know, seeing the local talent, these young talents that I got to play with, that was awesome. You know, because they share the same intensity and love for this music as I did when I was their age. And that I still do, you know, so that was really awesome. Yeah, getting to for myself just work out some new things that I've been up to. Working out, it's been a way for me to kind of test the waters and play some material that I've been working on for a very long time. That's finally like actually starting to get whipped into shape. So that's really exciting for me personally. And it's kind of been, I treat it as like a little bit of a look in the rearview mirror of like what I've done over the last 15, 20 years, records I've made, tours I've been a part of, bands I've been in and stuff, using that as a way to kind of show like, you know, I get a question a lot about like, how do you take, you know, an experience playing with Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band, to playing with Suicidal Tendencies and all these things in between and whatever, because it seems different, but in a lot of the ways that for me, it doesn't feel at all different, you know, much in the way that like the environment here to me doesn't feel all too different from the environment playing at School of Rock. You know, to me, it all blurs into one big thing, and that's what music does for me in a positive way. So yeah, those experiences at Schools of Rock have just been unbelievable, and can't wait to do more of them.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's that putting one foot in front of the other. The passion is really what pushes you through. You know, like we've shared a lot of moments privately and at shows, and I've been lucky to tour with you a few times now, you know, different arenas and just being a part of your experiences and watching you and stuff like this. But, you know, people with social media and especially the young kids, which is why I'm so passionate about, you know, aligning with musicians like yourself that have influence over these kids, but also take that influence for good, really, right? Where it's like, it's not always easy. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be roadblocks. But if you have that passion and you're pushing yourself and you have those incremental goals, you can't just say, I'm going to go next year play an arena. You know, it's maybe a 5-year plan and you have to back into that. Yeah. And so it's really important to get to that ground level at the School of Rock or at a high school or wherever it may be to talk to those kids one-on-one and show them that it is attainable, that you're a real human, like you're there in the flesh. And I think from what I've seen at some of these experiences, it's like, those kids really do take it where they're like, whoa, like I've seen you on social media, seen you at the big show, and you being here in the flesh is like such an energy that you can't really match unless you're there in the moment or experiencing it yourself. So we appreciate you doing all that, man.
Pleasure, yeah, you know, and I think like, you know, a life in music, you know, is by nature very transient, you know, and so we occupy spaces like this temporarily, you know, like we're, you know, and I think that's something to be celebrated in treating all these things like they're the same, you know, because they are. I think Frank Sinatra had a great quote saying like they're all $50 gigs, you know, which is the truth. You know, that's the great thing about it is that music is such an equalizer where it all comes from the same place. It all connects to us in the same way, whether it's here, whether it's at School of Rock, wherever it is. But I think the transient nature of music and being a musician is like, it's very important to realize that you have the same passion in an environment like this as you do anywhere else, you know? And I think that, you know, that comes with the experience of like, you know, playing in a place like this, you really realize that like it, you know, although this is just unbelievable and we're so grateful to have the opportunity to play here, like it never gets better than like being in a room with your bros, you know, with your people you're collaborating with, working on something that you're trying to create that's special, you know? And I think when you have something so bombastic and huge as this, it really puts that stuff into perspective, that it's like the real magic is what you do when you focus on your craft of doing it, you know, alone or in isolation, doing it with the people you're collaborating with, or solo, whatever it may be. That's the kind of magic that like being in an over the top environment like this even kind of exemplifies in a way, where it's just like, you know, you get to understand the power of music, that you can do it all alone in your room, and the power is yours to do that, and then hopefully maybe one day bring it here, you know, and to do something positive with that opportunity. But yeah, it's kind of a really cool way. What we're doing, you know, this spring and summer is to celebrate the duality and the transient nature of, like, you know, yeah, one day we're passing through an environment like this. We'll use our opportunity here to do the best we can with it and play our music and hopefully make connections with people. And then we'll do the same thing in a room that's, you know, 1/10,000th of the size of this, and that's totally cool. You know, like that's what it's all about to me. So I really feel like having the opportunity to do this here and do the events that we do with Loyal to the Craft, like, it encompasses it all.
That's DIY, man. That wraps up the DIY spirit so well, of just like wherever it is, that passion that you have inside for creation, you live through it.
Yeah.
Love it. I think that's our cue.
All right.
Crazy, dude. That was awesome. Thank you.
Hell yeah. No, of course.
Head over to loyaltothecraft.com, sign up for our email newsletter, and grab a t-shirt to fuel the habit. Thanks so much, Jay and Suicidal Tendencies, for letting us come backstage here. And don't forget to chase your dreams. We'll see you guys out there.